This week we continue our journey through Genesis. This is number 6, the roots of Abraham, and we're going to look at Genesis 12, 13, 14. 3 long chapters for our review as we understand Abraham's call and what happened to him and so on. But actually we've got to go back to Genesis 11 for the beginning, because we often say that Abraham was called out of Ur of the Chaldees. Well, not quite. If you go back and read there from verses 27 and on in Genesis 11, Terah leaves Ur of the Chaldees, and he is the one who begins the long journey. They get as far as Haran. And Haran, of course, is the father of Lot, and the one that actually is the person who that place is named after. It says at the very end of that chapter 11, Terah took his son Abraham, his grandson Lot, and left Ur of the Chaldees to move to the land of Canaan. So it was Terah who started this whole process. And they got as far as Haran, and they actually settled down there. So when it comes to the call in chapter 12, Abraham is already there in Haran, this place named after his brother. The Lord told Abraham, well, I'm going to say Abraham rather than Abram, because otherwise it gets confusing. Leave your country, your relatives, your family home, and travel to the country I'm going to show you. I'm going to make you the ancestor of a great nation. I will bless you. I will make sure you have a great reputation and that you are a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you. I will curse you, those who curse you. Everyone on earth will be blessed through you. And what a wonderful promise that is for Abraham. And I want to ask you, though, as God calls him to go there, does he know where he's going? Does he know what's going to happen? Does he just say, yes, Lord, I'll do whatever you say? How does he know that this is a call from God? How do we know when God is calling us to do something? How do we know and understand what it's all about in this life? And Abraham's response is a wonderful one. And he is, of course, the great father of these nations. He is also the one that 3 of the major faiths of this world look back to: Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. So we have to think very carefully about Abraham and what his role really was. We read some of the stories, and we'll go into all of that later on as we go through Genesis. He wasn't perfect, that's certainly true, but God, as it says, considered him righteous because of his trust. He trusted God to lead him, and he went along, and the record of his journey and all of that we're going to come to, because it's so important and so enlightening about someone who has a close relationship with his Lord. As George MacDonald says in the quotes for this time, to be trusted is a greater compliment than to be loved. And I think that's true, isn't it? Isn't it a greater compliment to be trusted than even to people who say, oh, I love you, whatever you like and however you act? So no, I want to be trusted. I want to be a trustworthy person. I want to be a trustworthy friend of God. So there in Genesis 12 we have the call. Genesis 13 is the account of Abraham and Lot going their separate ways. You remember, Lot says, oh, this land over here looks much better. I'm going to be able to use this land, this pasture land, for my flocks, far better than this rather rugged hill country. And Abraham says, sure, you go that way, I'll go into the hill country. Maybe the pasture land is not so good, but it doesn't matter. That's not the important thing. They had to separate because there was just too much competition for water and pasture land for the flocks. So they divided, they go separate ways. Was that a good decision by Lot? I don't think so. You read what happens after that. Lot gets captured by this alliance of kings, and Abraham has to ride out and rescue him. He gets a posse together, all his servants and all the people who work together with him, quite a big band of people, as it turns out. We think that maybe it was Abraham and just his immediate family. No, it's quite a big group that was traveling there to Canaan. And he has to go and rescue Lot, and he does that, and God provides miraculously. Go back and read these stories. They're important ones, but the most important thing to remember and to realize in all of this is God's incredible love for someone who trusted in him. That can be our experience too. Abraham trusted God, and so God considered him as a righteous person. What a wonderful thought for all of us to think about.